Hi everyone, my name is Melissa van Dijk, and in today's video I want to talk about the simplicity of skincare when you don't interfere with your skin too much. Now your skin is functioning on its own. It has its own protective barrier, regulates moisture, and constantly renews itself. These processes happen automatically without you needing to add anything. So the baseline is not that your skin needs fixing, but that it's already doing its job. And if you don't interfere too much, there's usually no issue. But the moment you start adding more and more products, things can start to change. Because now your skin has to react to everything you're putting on it. And that's where problems can begin. Your skin becomes drier, irritated, or unbalanced. And then you add more products to fix that. And now you're in a situation where one thing leads to another. More products, more steps, more adjustments. And I actually think it's very similar to what I talked about with food. If you just eat something simple, like eggs in the morning, and maybe add some fruit or vegetables, that's already a complete meal. And by doing that, you're automatically removing the need for a lot of other things. You don't need fortified cereals or highly processed foods. Because you're already eating real food, your body gets what it actually needs to function properly, and you naturally don't crave those other foods anymore. And it's the same idea here. If you keep things simple and only use something when it's actually needed, there's no need to add more. But the moment you move away from that simplicity, it creates the need for more. And that's where the system builds around it. Because at the same time, you're constantly exposed to skincare. You see routines, products, expert advice, maybe even some before and after results. You know, those where someone says they used something for an entire year and then just shows one or two pictures, which doesn't really tell you anything. And over time, that starts to feel normal. Like doing more is the standard. Like you need all of this to get results. And if you're not doing it, it can feel like you're doing something wrong or falling behind. So step by step, that simplicity gets replaced with more and more complexity. And that complexity creates the need for more solutions, more products, more steps, and more advice. So you move from something that was working on its own into something that constantly needs input, simply because you interfered with with a naturally working biological system. And I guess that's really the key point here. If something is simple, you don't need much. But once it becomes complex, it creates the need for more. And that's where it turns into a system. Because now you have problems, solutions, and then new problems that come from those solutions. So it keeps going. More products, more steps, more adjustments. And at that point, it can feel like you constantly need something. But in reality, that need was created along the way. And the only way to really see that is basically to step out of it. But that's also the difficult part, because doing less can feel wrong at first, and it can take time until you actually see the results. The same way it works with food. If you eat better, simpler food, your health improves. But you don't always see that immediately. And it's the same here. If you reduce things and stop interfering all the time, your skin can return to its natural balance. But you have to give it that space. So in a way, by doing less, you're actually doing more. And that's something you will only really notice once you step out of that pattern. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!